All right. Yo, do you go to E? ISD, Ghana Yegi, Taguado. Welcome to the Red Road East. I'm your host, Fierce Truth Seeker. The Red Road East is an indigenous TV program dedicated to archiving and preserving the history, legacy, and culture of the indigenous peoples of the Americas east of the Mississippi River and the Caribbean. So, November is Native American Heritage Month, and today we're doing a part two to our discussion on the American Indian origins of the United States Constitution and democracy. Okay. And we're not going to be too long, probably be about maybe half an hour to 45 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to try to get through this as soon as possible. All right. And for those who are generous enough to leave a donation, I'm going to leave the information in the chat where you can do so. Anything that you donate, trust me, it's not going towards, me buying a fancy car or flossing or any of that stuff. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm very modest with everything, you know, and whatever I get is definitely used for the cause. Okay. And somebody left a donation on the last show. I have to get the name from my wife so that I could give proper thanks. Okay. But who that person is, I'll just say in advance, thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. No amount is too small. And likewise, no amount is too great. Okay. And all is appreciated. Okay. And I'll say shout out to those in the chat. We got George Richard III. All right. And JB. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining in. And we're going to get started with the presentation. Okay. And that's the information there in the chat if anyone would like to leave a donation. Okay. So let's get this party started. All right. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. All right. Let me see. Share the screen. Share screen. Window. Share. Okay. And see here. Full screen layout. And let's take this off here for a second. I guess we could leave it up. It's not in the way. All right. So, what you're looking at right there on the screen is the first draft of the American Constitution. Oh, before I get started, those who are listening right now, can y'all please tell me if the audio is good? I don't want to proceed and the audio is messed up because it just messes up the whole show and we'll have to re-record and things of that nature. So if the audio is good, please press a 1 in the chat. And if the audio is not good, please let me know. Okay. And we got some idiot in the chat, JB, who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, who says, "What's that bullshit on my head?" Obviously, this person is not indigenous. because if that person was, then they wouldn't be asking such a ridiculous question. All right. So I'm going to put this idiot right on Front Street right here. I'm going to put this idiot on Front Street. So we have an idiot, a gaping a-hole in the chat named JB, who asked, what's that bullshit on my head? Okay. He obviously is not indigenous to this land. Okay. Because if he was, see, that's the thing. We get these people, these, Aborigines and stuff who come in the chat, who don't know anything about indigenous culture and try to criticize. They just watched a few DC Comics videos. I'm not going to say anybody's name, just 2 days ago. Okay. And all of a sudden they know something about Indians. I live this culture. All right. Been walking the red road for over 3 decades. So you learn some culture and then come back and talk to me. And then you'll tell me what I have on my head, you idiot. So anyway, we'll proceed since we exposed this idiot as someone who doesn't know his rear end from his elbow. All right. I actually should just remove him. But anyway, so let us proceed. All right. We're going to proceed. So again, as I said before, what you're looking at on the screen is the first draft of the Constitution. Okay. And that is the wampum belt. Okay. So people such as that JB person who came in, okay, of course wouldn't know what he's looking at because he doesn't know his rear end from his elbow. Okay. He is indigenous to the internet. Okay. He doesn't practice the culture. Okay. All right. When you've been doing this for 30 years, come talk to me. All right. So, anyway, all right. So, the Iroquois Confederacy, the Six Nations comprising the Mohawk, Onondaga. Oh, let me see. How's the audio? Let me see. George said that the audio is good. Yeah, we got sidetracked by JB. Okay. And so the audio, let me see. Did anybody press a one? Okay, yeah. George said the audio was good. Okay. So I guess it's good. I'm gonna assume. All right. And good. Okay, so the Iroquois Confederacy, the Six Nations comprising the Mohawk, Onondaga, Oneida, Cayuga, Seneca, and Tuscarora peoples. The Tuscarora Nation joined the League in 1722. After leaving their traditional territory in North Carolina and Virginia to become the Sixth Nation. Any issues the Tuscarora members have are submitted through the Cayugas. Other nations, like the Tuscarora, have been welcomed into the Confederacy, including the Delaware Nation, the Wyandot Nation, and the Tuatara Nation. And they as well bring their issues forward through the Cayuga Nation. The name Iroquois is a name given by the European settlers. The Iroquois called themselves the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Haudenosaunee translates as people of the longhouse. The original names, so the names that you commonly hear like Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, Tuscarora, these names are not the names that the people named themselves. These were names given by the Europeans. So the original name that the Mohawks called themselves is Kanyan Kahagan, which means the people of the flint. Okay. And the Oneida originally called themselves Oneyate Kaono, meaning the people of the upright stone. The Onondaga called themselves Onundagaono, meaning the people of the hills. The Cayuga called themselves Gayoconio, meaning the people of the great swamp. The Seneca called themselves Onondawaga, meaning the people of the great hill. And the Tuscarora called themselves Scarure, meaning the shirt wearing people. And we were had the pleasure of having one of the Tuscarora chiefs on the show last week. Okay, and he gave us some history on the Tuscarora people and represented his people, and also gave us some good education on their tribe, the Skakore. Um, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. The Skarore and Wokan people, which were the Tuscarora. Okay, and he corrected some of the history that we've been given regarding those people. Okay, and we're gonna have Chief Pierce to come back on and give us some more history on that tribe, okay, who are called the Tuscarora today. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to the next page. The Great Law of Peace is the oral constitution of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. The United Haudenosaunee Nations are symbolized by an eastern white pine tree called the Tree of Peace. Okay. The laws were first recorded and transmitted not in written language, but by means of wampum symbols that conveyed meaning. In a later era, it was translated into English, and various other accounts exist. The Great Law of Peace is represented as part of a narrative noting laws and ceremonies to be performed at prescribed times. The laws, called a constitution, are divided into 117 articles. The United Iroquois nations are symbolized by an eastern white pine tree called the Tree of Peace. Each nation or tribe plays a delineated role in the conduct of government. So, the basis for the founding fathers, the decision making process mirrored the creation of peace among the Iroquois. The Onondaga introduced a topic, offered it to the Mohawk for consideration. I'm sorry, the Onondaga introduced the topic and offered it to the Mohawk for consideration. When a decision was reached, they passed it to the Seneca. A joint decision was announced to the groups across the fire for deliberation. When these groups reached an agreement, they reported to the Onondaga council leader. If he agreed, the decision was unanimous. If not, the negotiation process began again with the Mohawk. If unanimity were impossible, the matter was set aside and the fire covered with ashes. At the conclusion of a session, the acts of the council were recorded in the belts of wampum that chronicle events of significance. The structure of the Iroquois Confederacy inspired the American colonists' development of the U.S. government. On June 11th, 1776, while the question of independence was being debated, the visiting Iroquois chiefs were formally invited into the meeting hall of the Continental Congress. There, a speech was delivered in which they were addressed as brothers and told of the delegates' wish that the friendship between them would continue as long as the sun shall shine and the waters run. The speech also expressed a hope that the new Americans and the Iroquois act as one people and have but one heart. After this speech, an Onondaga chief requested permission to give Hancock an Indian name. The Congress graciously consented, and so the president was renamed Caranduan, or the Great Tree. With the Iroquois chiefs inside the halls of Congress on the eve of American independence, the impact of Iroquois ideas on the founders is unmistakable. History is indebted to Charles Thompson, an adopted Delaware, whose knowledge of and respect for American Indians is reflected in the attention that he gave to this ceremony in records of the Continental Congress. So now what we're going to look at is some comparisons between the wait, hold on. My computer is freezing. What's going on? Okay, we're good now. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a look at similarities and differences between the Iroquois Constitution, or the Haudenosaunee Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution. Okay, so the Iroquois Constitution is much older than the U.S. Constitution and its amendments. Because the authors of the U.S. Constitution borrowed many principles from the Iroquois document, the two share many similarities. There are differences as well. Okay, so we're going to look at is a chart that looks at different elements here of both the Haudenosaunee Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. Okay, so House and Senate. Okay, we're going to look at that element, House and Senate. Okay, according to the Haudenosaunee Constitution, all business of the Five Nations Confederate Councils shall be conducted by the two combined bodies of Confederacy lords. First, the question shall be passed upon by the Mohawk and Seneca lords. Then it shall be discussed and passed by the Oneida and Cayuga lords. We talked about that just a few minutes ago. Okay, their decisions shall then be referred to the Onondaga lords, firekeepers, for final judgment. Article 9. Okay, so according to the U.S. Constitution, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. Article 1, Section 1. Okay, now we're looking at filling vacancies in the House and Senate. According to the Haudenosaunee Constitution, when a lordship title becomes vacant, when a lordship title becomes vacant through death or other cause, the Rayonnaise women of the clan in which the title is hereditary shall hold a council and shall choose one from among their sons to fill the office made vacant. Such a candidate shall not be the father of any Confederate lord. If the choice is unanimous, the name is referred to the men relatives of the clan. If they should disapprove, it shall be their duty to select a candidate from among their own number. Then the men and women are, I'm sorry, if then the men and women are unable to decide which of the two candidates shall be named, then the matter shall be referred to the Confederate lords in the clan. They shall decide which candidate shall be named. If the men and women agree to a choice, they shall refer their action to their Confederate lords, who shall ratify the choice and present it to proper ceremony for the conferring of lordship titles. Article 54. Okay, now according to the US Constitution, when vacancies happen in the representation from any state, the executive authority thereof shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies. Article 1, Section 2. Okay, qualifications for Senate. According to the Haudenosaunee Constitution, the lords of the Confederacy of the Five Nations shall be mentors of the people for all time. The thickness of their skin shall be 7 spans, which is to say that they shall be proof against anger, offensive action, and criticism. Their hearts shall be full of peace and goodwill, and their minds filled with a yearning for the welfare of the people of the Confederacy. With endless patience, they shall carry out their duty, and their firmness shall be tempered with a tenderness for their people. Neither anger nor fury shall find lodgment in their minds, and all their words and actions shall be marked by calm deliberation. Article 24. Okay. Hold on, I gotta mute for a second because they will take the show off for the music in the background outside. Okay, I think the car playing the music is past. A shame, I'm not playing music, but they'll take the video down for copyright infringement, even though I'm not playing the music. It's some idiot outside playing the music loud as you know what. Okay, so anyway, qualifications for Senate. We just read Article 24 of the Haudenosaunee Constitution. Now, according to the U.S. Constitution, no person shall be a senator who shall not have attained to the age of 30 years and be 9 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state for which he shall be chosen. Article 1, Section 3. Okay, now give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. This thing is bugging out. Hold on. Okay, here we go. When Congress shall meet, according to the Haudenosaunee, every 5 years, the 5 nations, confederate lords, and the people shall assemble together and shall ask one another if their minds are still in the same spirit of unity for the great binding law, and if any of the 5 nations shall not pledge continuance and steadfastness to the pledge of unity, then the great binding law shall dissolve. Article 4. According to the U.S. Constitution, the Congress shall assemble at least once every year, and such meetings shall be on the first Monday in December, unless they shall by law appoint a different day. Article 1, Section 4. Okay. And rules for houses of Congress. According to the Haudenosaunee, if any Confederate lord neglects or refuses to attend the Confederate Council, the other lords of the nation of which he is a member shall require their war chief to request a female sponsor. I'm sorry, let me read that again. If any Confederate lord neglects or refuses to attend the Confederate Council, the other lords of the nation of which he is a member shall require their war chief to request the female sponsors of the land. I'm sorry, the female sponsors of the Lord, so guilty of defection to demand his attendance of the council. If he refuses, the women holding the title shall immediately select another candidate for the title. Article 18. If a war chief acts contrary to insurrections or against the provisions of the laws of the great peace, doing so in the capacity of his office, he shall be deposed by his women relatives and by his men relatives. Either the women or the men alone or jointly may act in such a case. The women title holders shall then choose another candidate. And that's Article 39. No council of the Confederate lords shall be legal unless the Mohawk lords are present. Article 6. So, according to the U.S. Constitution, it says each house shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of its own members, and a majority of each shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a smaller number may adjourn from day to day and may be authorized to compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as each house may provide. Each house may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. Neither house during the session of Congress shall, without the consent of the other, adjourn for more than 3 days, nor to any other place than that in which the two houses shall be sitting. Article 1, Section 5. Forbidding of dual office. According to the Haudenosaunee Constitution, we do now crown you with the sacred emblem of the deer's antlers and the emblem of your lordship, You shall now become a mentor of the people of the 5 nations. The thickness of your skin shall be 7 spans, which is to say, that you shall be proof against anger, offensive actions, and criticism. Your heart shall be filled with the peace and goodwill of your mind, filled with a yearning for the welfare of the people of the Confederacy. With endless patience you shall carry out your duty, and your firmness shall be tempered with the tenderness for your people. Neither anger nor fury shall find lodgment in your mind, and all your words and actions shall be marked with calm deliberation. In all of your deliberations in the Confederate Council, in your efforts at lawmaking, in all your official acts, self interest shall be cast into oblivion. Cast not over your shoulder behind you the warnings of the nephews and nieces. Shall they chide you for any error or wrong you may do? But return to the way of the great law, which is just and right. Look and listen for the welfare of the whole people, and have always in view not only the present, but also the coming generations, plural, sorry, even those whose faces are yet beneath the surface of the ground, the unborn of the future nation, Article 28. According to the U.S. Constitution, no senator or representatives shall, during the time for which he was elected, be appointed to any civil office under the authority of the United States, which shall have been created, or the emoluments whereof shall have been increased during such time, and no person holding any office under the United States shall be a member of either house during his continuance in office. Article 1, Section 6. So now the passing of laws, okay, the passage of laws according to the Haudenosaunee, in all cases, the procedure must be as follows. When the Mohawk and Seneca lords report their decision to, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. In all cases, the procedure must be as follows. When the Mohawk and Seneca lords have unanimously agreed upon a question, they shall report their decisions to the Cayuga and Oneida lords, who shall deliberate upon. Yeah, we already talked about this one, so we'll skip that. We talked about that one already. Okay, and we're gonna skip to power to declare war. Iroquois Constitution. There shall be one war chief for each nation, and their duties shall be to carry messages for their lords, and to take upon and to take up, and to take up the arms of war in case of emergency. They shall not participate in the proceedings of the Confederate Council, but shall watch its progress, and in case of erroneous action by a lord, they shall receive the complaints of the people and convey the warnings of the women to him. The people who wish to convey messages to the lords in the Confederate Council shall do so through the war chief of their nation. It shall ever be his duty to lay the cases, questions, and propositions of the people before the Confederate Council. Article 37. According to the U.S. Constitution, the Congress shall have power to declare war, grant, I'm sorry, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. Article 1, Section 8. Immigration. According to the Haudenosaunee Constitution, the soil of the earth from one end of the land to the other is the property of the people who inhabit it. By birthright of the Angwe Hawea, original beings, are the owners of the soil from which they own and occupy, and none other may hold it. The same law has been held from the oldest times. The great Creator has made us of one blood, and of the same soil he made us, and as only different tongues constitute different nations, he established different hunting grounds and territories and made boundary lines between them. Article 73. According to the U.S. Constitution, the migration or importation of such persons as any of the seats now existing shall, I'm sorry, states, not seats. Let me read that again. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit, shall nor he prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 108, the year 1808, but a tax or duty be imposed on such importation, not exceeding $10 for each person. Article 1, Section 9. Powers of the Union versus states. According to the Haudenosaunee Constitution, if a lord of the Confederacy shall seek to establish any authority independent of the jurisdictions of the Confederacy of the Great Peace, which is the Five Nations, he shall be warned 3 times in open council, first by the women relatives, second by the men relatives, and finally by the lords of the Confederacy of the nation to which he belongs. If the offending lord is still obdurate, he shall be dismissed by the war chief of his nation for refusing to conform to the laws of the Great Peace. His nation shall install the candidate nominated by the female name holders of his family. Article 25. According to the U.S. Constitution, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainment, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10. Admission of new states. According to the Haudenosaunee Constitution, when the lords of the Confederacy decide to admit a foreign nation and an adoption is made, the lords shall inform the adopted nation that its admissions is only temporary. They may They made the lords shall inform the adopted nation that its admission is only temporal. Oh, I'm bugging. I read that already. Let me start with that. It said, when the laws of the Confederacy decide to admit a foreign nation and an adoption is made, the lords shall inform the adopted nation that its admission is only temporary. They shall also say to the nation that it must never try to control, to interfere with, or to injure the five nations, nor disregard the great peace or any of its rules or customs. There in no way shall they cause disturbance or injury. They should, then should the adopted nation disregard these injunctions, their adoption shall be annulled and they shall be expelled. Article 77. According to the U.S. Constitution, new states may be admitted by the Congress into this union, but no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state, nor any state be formed by the jurisdiction of two or more states, or parts of states without the consent of the legislature of the state connected, of the state concerned, as well as of the Congress. Article 4, Section 3. Duties to the federal government. According to the Iroquois, when a member of an alien nation comes to the territory of the five nations and seeks refuge and permanent residence, the lords of the nations to which he comes shall extend hospitality and make him a member of the nation. Then shall he be accorded equal rights and privileges in all matters except as aforementioned. Article 75. According to the U.S. Constitution, the United States shall guarantee every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. Article 4, Section 4. Okay, and we're almost done with this part. States' rights. Whenever a whenever a specially important matter, matter, I'm bugging. Whenever a especially important matter or great emergency is presented before the Confederate Council and the nature of the matter affects the entire body of the five nations, threatening their utter ruin, then the lords of the Confederacy must submit the matter to the decision of their people, and the decision of the people shall affect the decision of the Confederate Council. This decision shall be a confirmation of the voice of the people. Article 20. According to the U.S. Constitution, the citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. Article 4, Section 2. How leaders are selected. According to the Iroquois, the Ganawida appoint the Mohawk lords, the heads of the leaders of the five nations confederacy. The Mohawk lords are the foundation of the great peace and it shall therefore be against the great binding law to pass measures in the Confederate Council after the Mohawk lords have protested against them. Article 6. According to the U.S. Constitution, the executive power shall be vested in a president to the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the vice president chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Article 2, Section 1. So, looking at this here so far, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that America, or the United States founding fathers, had adopted this Constitution from the indigenous people here. Okay? It's I mean, you see some slight differences, but for the most part, you see many similarities. Okay? So, I mean, it's a no-brainer that, you know, this was the foundation that they borrowed from freely. You understand? So, going on, we're almost finished here. Now we're looking at the qualifications for office of president. According to the Haudenosaunee Constitution, no body of alien people who have been adopted temporarily shall have a voice in the council of the lords of the Confederacy, for only they who have been invested with lordship titles may vote in the council. Aliens have nothing by blood to make claims to a vote, and should they have it, not knowing all the traditions of the Confederacy, might go against its great peace. In this manner, the great peace would be endangered and perhaps destroyed. Article 76. According to the U.S. Constitution, no person except a normal born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of the president. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States. Article 2, Section 1. Now, removal of the president from office or impeachment. According to the Haudenosaunee, if at any time shall be, if at any time he manifest, if at any time be manifest that a Confederate lord has not in mind the welfare of the people or disobeys the rules of this great law, the men or women of the Confederacy, or both jointly, shall come to the council and upbraid the erring the erring lord through his war chief. If the complaint of the people through the war chief is not heeded the first time, it shall be uttered again. And then, if no attention is given, a third complaint and warning shall be given. If the Lord is continuous, the matter shall go to the council of war chiefs. The war chiefs shall then divest the erring lord of his title by order of the women in whom the war chief and the Confederate lords shall sanction the act. The women will then select another of their sons as a candidate, and the lords shall elect him. Then shall the chosen one be installed by the installation ceremony. The expulsion shall be in the following manner: the council shall appoint one of their war chiefs to convey the message of annulment, and he shall say, "You," naming the nation, "listen to me while I speak. I am here to inform you again of the will of the Five Nations Council. It was clearly made known to your at I'm sorry, it was clearly made known to you. Sorry about that. Or a former time. I'm sorry, at a former time. Now the lords of the Five Nations have decided to expel you and cast you out. We disown you now and annul your adoption. Therefore, you must look for a path in which to go and lead away all your people. It was you, not we, who committed wrong and caused this sentence of annulment. So then go your way and depart from the territory of the Five Nations and from the Confederacy. That's according to Article 77. According to the U.S. Constitution, in case of the removal of the president from office or of his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of the said office, the same shall devolve on the vice president, and the Congress may, by law, provide for the case of removal, death, resignation, or inability, both of the president and vice president, declaring what officer shall then act as president, and such officer shall act accordingly until disability be removed or a president shall be elected. Article 2, Section 1. The president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Article 2, Section 4. Okay. President as commander in chief. According to the Iroquois, Skanawari shall be vested with a double office, duty, and with double authority. One half of his being shall hold the leadership title, and the other half shall hold the title of war chief. In the event of war, he shall notify the 5 war chiefs of the Confederacy and command them to prepare for war and have their men ready at the appointed time and place for engagement with the enemy of the great peace. Article 79. According to the U.S. Constitution, the president shall be commander in chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states when called into the actual service of the United States. He may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices, and he shall have power to grant representatives and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. Okay, and we're almost at the end here. Okay, State of the Union addresses. As you can see, you know, it's so similar, you know, so similar. It's they, they just did a remix on our concepts. See what I'm saying? Let me see before I finish this page, because this is actually going to be, we're going to have to do another part to this because there's a lot more, and I don't want to take up the whole of your day or my day on this here. But let me just take a quick look at who. Let's see, some new people came into the chat. I want to give y'all a shout out. All right, so we got Denzel. Hey, how's it going? Greetings. And George says he can't find part one of. You can't find part one. It's interesting that you say that. I can't find part one either. I wonder if they took it down. They do that, a lot of time. They take my videos down. They've been doing that for for over 20 years now. YouTube has been doing that. If you go back to, there's certain videos from like 2007 that just can't be found anymore. Some of the videos will probably never be found. I got lucky and somebody reposted one on YouTube, and I was able to save that. And that was a video we did, me and Firebird did back in 2007, and I was lucky to get that. But there's others that we may never see again. But yeah, they do that. I have to go and look. I was actually looking for part one today, and I couldn't find it either. That's crazy. But yeah, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, let me see something. Okay, who else? Oh, we got Chico de Costa checking in from Las Vegas. Hey, Chico, thanks for joining. And we got Sherlock Homie. All right. Yeah, thanks for joining in. Yeah. All right. Yeah, thank y'all for joining in. Let's see. Denzel is asking, did Harris send Ham? I'm not sure. Can you clarify on that question? But yeah. All right, so let me finish up this here. And while I'm doing that, again, if anyone is generous enough to leave a donation, I'm leaving the information there where you can leave a donation via Cash App or PayPal. Okay. So State of the Union address. So, according to the Haudenosaunee Constitution, it shall be the duty of the lords of each brotherhood to confer the approach of the time of the midwinter Thanksgiving and to notify their people of the approaching festival. They shall hold a council over the matter and arrange its details and begin the Thanksgiving 5 days after the moons. I'm sorry, 5 days after the moon of Discona is new. The people shall assemble at the appointed place, and the nephews shall notify the people of the time and place. From the beginning to the end, the Lord shall preside over the thanksgiving and address the people from time to time. Article 100. Okay. According to the U.S. Constitution, he, the president, shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the state of the Union and recommend to their considerations such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may, on extraordinary occasions, convene both houses or either of them, and in case of disagreements between them with respect to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. He shall receive ambassadors and other public ministers. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed and shall commission all the officers of the United States. Article 2, Section 3. Okay. Treason. Okay. According to the Haudenosaunee, if a nation, part of a nation, or more than one nation within the five nations should in any way endeavor to destroy the great peace by neglect or violating its laws and resolve to dissolve the confederacy, such a nation or such nations shall be deemed guilty of treason and called enemies of the confederacy and the great peace. Article 92. According to the U.S. Constitution, treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. Article 3, Section 3. Authority of the federal government. According to the Iroquois, 5 arrows shall be bound together very strong, and each arrow shall represent one nation. As the 5 arrows are strongly bound strongly bound, this shall symbolize the complete union of the nations. Thus, the 5 nations united completely and enfolded together, united into one head, one body, one mind. Therefore, they shall labor, legislate, and counsel together for the interest of future generations. Article 57. According to the U.S. Constitution, this Constitution and the laws of the United States shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, not withholding. Article 6. Now, constitutional amendments. According to the Iroquois, if the conditions which shall arise at any future time call for an addition to or change in this law, the case shall be carefully considered, and if new and if a new uh what's that word there? It's so small. Hold on, let me see if I can make this bigger here. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's see here. If the condition which shall arise at any future time call for an addition or change in this law, the case shall be carefully considered, and if a new being seems necessary or beneficial, the proposed change shall be voted upon, and if adopted, it shall be called added to the rafters. According to the U.S. Constitution, the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution when ratified by the legislature of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress, provided as the one or the other, by the Congress, I'm bugging, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner reflect the first and fourth clauses in the ninth section of the first aride, and that no state without its consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate. Article 5. Okay, and let's see here. Constitution, supreme law of the land. According to the Iroquois, before the real people united their nations, each nation had its council fires. Before the great peace, their councils were held. The 5 council fires shall continue to burn as before, and they are not quenched. The lords of each nation in future shall settle their nation's affairs at this council fire, governed always by the laws and rules of the Council of the Confederacy and by the Great Peace, Article 25. According to the U.S. Constitution, the ratification of the conventions of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between the states. So ratifying the same. Article 7. Okay. And Yeah, that is a breakdown of the comparisons between the United States, or should I say the similarities and differences between the Iroquois Constitution and the United States Constitution. Okay, so yeah, you know, we're gonna break this up into a third part because there's a lot more to this, and I don't want to. Yeah, I didn't intend to really go for too long, you know. Um, and for those who are watching and didn't get a chance to hit the thumbs up, um, it would be greatly appreciated if you hit the thumbs up. Okay, be greatly appreciated. But yeah, so we'll probably do a third part to this maybe tomorrow or Thursday. Um, but there's a lot more that I want to cover. I don't know. I see. There's only I would go a little bit longer, but we only have 3 people watching right now. I don't know if this is something that interests y'all. You know, let me know. Do y'all want me to keep going, or you know, or you know, y'all want to continue it for another time? Let me know in the chat. It's up to you. Nothing. All right. So yeah, we'll make this part 2. I'm gonna look for part 1. I thought that part 1 was posted. For some reason, I didn't know that somebody said, I think it was George who said that they didn't see part 1, and yeah, I didn't see part 1 either. You know, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on. You know. Let's see who else we got in here. Lady T. Okay, looks like a new face here. Lady T says, "Peace and honor. I enjoy listening. I'm actually on the road right now. Do appreciate you. Oh, thank you so much. Much appreciated. You know, and that is encouraging. Um, yeah, I guess if y'all are interested and y'all want me to share some more information, then I'll continue on. You know, as long as I know that there's people watching and interested, I'll keep going on. Because there's more information on this topic. Let's see. All right, I'll go on for a few more, maybe 10 more minutes. Okay, so let's see here. All right, I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint and I'll share a little bit more. Okay. So give me 1 second here. So some of the symbols that the founding fathers adopted from the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Okay, so you had the eagle. Okay, the eagle was one symbol that was adopted by the founding fathers. Okay, an eagle has good eyesight. The bald eagle is a large, powerful brown bird with a white head and tail. Okay, a cluster of arrows is another symbol. The symbol of the eagle and the arrows represented unity and strength, just like it did for the Haudenosaunee. Okay. And if you look here, okay, you look on the dollar bill, okay, you see here you have the eagle, and you see in his talons he's got the arrows. Okay, where do you think they got it from? Okay, do you remember reading on the American Revolution page that the colonists were not united? So Benjamin Franklin created this well-known political cartoon encouraging the colonists to unite. After they won the American Revolution, the founding fathers wanted symbols to show their unity. So they borrowed again from the Iroquois and used the bundle arrows, which symbolize unity. Have you ever noticed the back of the dollar bill? The eagle on the back of the dollar bill is holding a bundled arrow in his talon or claw. The pine tree. The pine tree was a symbol of peace for the Iroquois. The early American patriots wove Native American symbols of liberty into their banners. Okay, as you see, the pine tree, which is the national symbol for the Iroquois and many Native American nations in New England, was also used by the Sons of Liberty on their liberty poles just prior to the American Revolution. Okay, go right here. All right. The pine tree flag or appeal to heaven flag was one of the flags used during the American Revolution. Okay, so you look in the back here, see here, all right, and you see here, all right, okay. So the Iroquois Confederacy is a political union of North American Indian nations who acted and act as a single nation. The term Iroquois, I'm sorry, I'm bugging. Um, who The Iroquois Confederacy is a political union of North American Indian nations who acted and act in war and peace, in trade alliances and treaties of goodwill as a single nation. The term Iroquois was derived from the Algonquin word Iroquois or Iroquois, which the French spelled with the suffix ois, O-I-S. The word, which translates as real adders, illustrates a common phenomenon in which a derisive term used by a native group's enemy becomes accepted becomes the accepted designation of the group in European languages. Okay. The Confederacy was long in existence when the Europeans arrived and became conscious of it in the early 17th century. No one knows the exact date of its founding, but a conservative estimate finds it in existence late in the 15th century. Some Iroquois oral tradition projects the founding date at several centuries earlier. Okay, we're talking about the Iroquois Confederacy or the Haudenosaunee. Confederacy. Okay. The oral tradition recounting the founding of the league is called Gayanesh Kagwa, Kagwa, or Great Law of Peace. I know I'm probably butchering that word there. Pardon me. This tradition identifies a Huron individual, the Ganawida, known in Iroquois tradition as the peacemaker, as a prophet who was inspired with a plan to end human beings' abuses of other human beings. This mission began at a time of great confusion and blood feuding, when assassinations and murder were common, and when war parties were often dispatched to distant lands to avenge an act of violence, which then escalated into warfare between clans, villages, and whole nations. The peacemaker enlisted the assistance of a former Onondaga chief, Hiawatha, to carry his message to the nations. The message they brought was complex, and the tradition that relates it requires over a week in the telling. The peacemaker proposed that the leaders of the communities organize for the purpose of creating a forum at which rethinking will replace violence. This assembly of leaders became the Grand Council, and eventually there were 50 sachems or chiefs from the various nations. Some people say sachems, but that's a mispronunciation. Okay, it's sachem or sachem. Some say sachem, some say sachem, depending on the dialect. But there was an indigenous elder from, I think, one of the Virginia tribes who corrected that mispronunciation. Okay, and one day I'm gonna try to pull his exact words and the chief's name. But he had corrected it. He say people are pronouncing it sachem, but it was not sachem. It's sachem. Okay, so and eventually there were 50 sachems or chiefs from the various nations: 9 Mohawks, 9 Oneidas, 14 Onondagas, 10 Cayugas, and 8 Senecas. Okay, so I hope I'm not boring anybody, but nobody is breaking this stuff down like we're breaking it down on this channel right here. I guarantee you. Okay, 8 Senecas. They would assemble at Onondaga, at the geographical center of the country of the 5 nations, and would gather under what the peacemaker called the Great Tree of Peace. There, reason would prevail. So here, what they're doing is they're trying to make it so that instead of fighting and instead of employing violence, reason would be the way to resolve issues. Okay, reason. Okay, the Haudenosaunee took their identity from their custom of building permanent towns, and within the towns, longhouses that served as communal dwellings and ceremonial buildings. The largest of these were about 60 feet wide by over 100 yards long. The peacemaker compared the Great League to a longhouse with the sky as its roof, the earth as its floor, and the fires of the nations burning within. The various nations had been organized into clans, and the peacemaker adapted this tradition to the new political order, facilitating the renaming of the clans. There would be 9 clans in all, but different nations would have different configurations. The clans are turtle, bear, wolf, heron, hawk, snipe, beaver, deer, and eel. The women of the clans would meet under the leadership of a clan mother and select the men who would assemble as chiefs in the Grand Council. Okay, so I know my cousin Awanasa asked in the first show, what was it? The first show? No, not the first show on this topic, but it was the show we did, the last show that we did with Chief Pierce. She had asked if we could talk about the clan mothers, the importance of the clan mothers. Okay, so here they're talking about the clan mothers. Okay, and yes, it is. Clan mothers are very important, as you're seeing right here. Okay, so it says here the women of the clans would meet under the leadership of a clan mother and select the men who would assemble as chiefs in the Grand Council. The peacemaker proposed that the people of the Longhouse would be united in a brotherhood so strong that the people of the Turtle Clan of the Senecas would view the people of the Turtle Clan of the Mohawks as their own blood kin, and as such, it would be unlawful for a person of one of these nations to marry a person of the other who was of the same clan, just as it would be wrong for a person to marry a sibling. There was initial opposition to the plan of unity from a powerful Onondaga war chief whose name was Tadodaho. He was said to be the embodiment of evil, an individual who had woven snakes into his hair to intimidate all in his presence. And he had no interest in supporting a league dedicated to peace. The peacemaker and Hiawatha despaired over, I'm sorry, and despaired of ever converting him until they voiced their concerns to Jikansase, a woman chief of the Cat or Neutral Nation. She suggested that he could be won over by being offered the chairmanship of the Great League. When the nations assembled to make their offer, Tadadaho accepted. Jikansase, who came to be described as the mother of nations or the peace queen, seized the horns of some parliamentary systems. Issues that arise before the council are considered. Hold on, I gotta pause this because we got music in the background. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had to mute the mic because YouTube will take this video down for copyright infringement because somebody is blasting their music driving by in a car outside. And I'm not making this up because those of you who follow me regularly know that this has been done. Okay. So, anyway, pardon the inconvenience. Let us continue. Okay. So, let me finish. Let me pick up from where we left off. Okay. So, it says here any issues that arise before the council are considered first by the Mohawk and Seneca side, then by the Cayugas, Oneidas, and Tuscaroras in council. If these two sides are unable to reach an agreement, the matter is sent to the Onondagas. This right here, we pretty much went over earlier, okay, who then cast the deciding vote. If the two sides reach an agreement, the Onondaga have no have no veto power and must confirm the decision. In each of their deliberations, there is an effort to reach unanimity. But when unanimity is impossible to achieve, a vote is taken to determine the sense of the assembly. If the measure is favored by a significant majority, a second vote is taken at which those who dissented are expected to express solidarity with the others. Continuous contact with a European nation commenced in 1609 when Samuel de Champlain led a French force against a Mohawk military expedition in the Champlain Valley. Just showing you a little picture here. These are chiefs of the Iroquois Confederacy in the council house at the Six Nations Reserve circa 1910. The Onondaga chief holds wampum strings. You see him in the middle there. Banners hanging at the left and right represent the deer and turtle clans. Okay, see them here. You got the deer, you got the turtle clan banners hanging here in the two corners. Okay, so it says here this led to intermittent warfare between France and her Indian allies on one side and the Haudenosaunee on the other. This warfare was interrupted in 1624 with a peace arrangement that may be described as the first treaty between the Haudenosaunee and a European nation. The peace was short lived and intermittent hostilities continued. France had developed extensive alliances with Indian nations north of the St. Lawrence River and the Great Lakes, and the European introduction of the fur trade greatly enhanced competition among various Indian nations. Okay, and so right here is where we will stop for the day, and we will continue on the next show and do a part two. Part three. This is part two. Okay. And I would like to thank everyone who joined in today. All right. And again, for anyone who, we got, let me see in the chat, George Richard III says, I'm still doing genealogy. He's still doing his genealogy. A lot of my elders say they know of having indigenous people in my family on both sides. That's good, man. Genealogy is an ongoing process, you know. because you have so many ancestors. You know, when you start your family tree with you, your parents, grandparents, it starts to branch out exponentially. Okay. So, it's an ongoing process. A good way to enhance your genealogy, and I know there's a lot of people who don't like doing DNA, but it's an excellent resource for genealogy because it can connect you to a lot of relatives that you are unaware of. Okay. I know that I was able to benefit greatly from DNA relatives because I had some roadblocks in my genealogy that for years I could not get past. But when I did the DNA and looked at the option for DNA relatives, I met a couple of relatives that had genealogy that I didn't have, and I was able to match what I had, and their genealogy filled in the gaps and the roadblocks that I had, certain surnames and things that I didn't have in my genealogy, they had. And it really put me in the driver's seat. So, you know, you can be stubborn all you want, and say, I don't deal with DNA, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, stay stuck with your family tree and enjoy being stuck there, you know, but don't knock those of us who have gotten over a lot of those hurdles, by not being dogmatic. Okay. But anyway, you know, we have another person who joined. All right, Ecuador 7. Thank you so much for joining in. He gives the thumbs up. Yeah, if anyone in the chat who has not thumbs up the video, it would be greatly appreciated if you do. Very appreciated. It doesn't cost you anything. And also, for those who desire to, or who are generous enough to leave a donation, the information is in the chat where you can leave a donation via PayPal and Cash App. Okay. So, on that note, I'm not going to keep y'all much longer. And I appreciate all who came and joined us. All right. Both those who support, and I welcome the haters too. Well, we only had one hater today. Yeah. We only had one hater. I welcome the haters because, the thing is that if if you don't have any haters, you're doing something wrong, you know, because anytime you're doing something right, you're going to have haters. So I welcome the hate. Hate on. Hate on. I love my haters because that confirms that the fierce truth seeker is doing something right. Okay. So hate on, haters. Okay. And much love to those who support the channel. Wide Awake Radio. Oh, hey, there we go. Yeah, my man. Yeah. The chief is in the house, Chief Pierce. Oh, man. Thank you for your support. And I hope you enjoyed the show today. And I gave y'all a shout earlier, and I am definitely looking forward to having Chief Pierce on the show again very soon. Okay, very soon. And the Chief, we're gonna be doing some good work together pretty soon. You know, and okay, so I'm gonna close out the show, and until the next time, do da da, go e.